Hello everyone and welcome back to Cooking with Suzanne. Today we're going to prepare a tarte flambée, which is basically a pizza. The only major difference is that the crust is very, very thin, almost cracker-like. And a classic tarte flambée is topped with some sauteed onions and bacon. And we're going to prepare the classic tarte flambée. So the first thing we want to do is get our bacon cooked. I have here 4 slices of Applewood smoked bacon. You can use whatever bacon you like. And I sliced it about a 1/2 inch wide. So I'm putting it into a cold pan and we're going to get it on the stove and start to get the bacon rendered on low. And the other ingredient that we need to prepare for this delicious tarte flambée is our onion. So you need, and this will make 4 of them, just so that you know. So you need 1 good size sweet onion. I would consider this on the large side. So the first thing you want to do is just cut it in half and then core it. And you can either wait until your bacon is cooked and use the bacon fat to actually cook the onion, or you can saute it in olive oil or even butter. So you want to just thinly slice your onion. Okay, so our onion is completely sliced, and let me just get this on the stove. So I have a little bit of olive oil in my pan, and I'm just going to add the onions to our pot. I want to season it with a little bit of salt. And I'm also going to add a 1/2 cup of water. I think I have a little bit more than 1/2 cup there. Okay, so take just a 1/2 cup of water and add it to your onions. And once it starts to actually simmer and you can hear the onions beginning to sweat, you can lower the heat and cover them and let them cook for about 7 to 8 minutes. And I have here already 1 onion already cooked, and I can come around so that you can actually see how nice and soft these onions are. Okay, so there's no color to the onions, but they're fully cooked and very sweet and really, really soft. So that's what you're looking for. And be sure to cook your bacon on low. You want to make sure what you're looking to do is really render all that fat. You want to get all the fat and just keep the meat there. So we're going to really cook this nice and slow so that we can get all the fat rendered. The onions are cooking nicely, so now I'm going to lower the heat to medium, and then we can also even set a timer. And we'll let these go for about 7 minutes and then take a look at it. Then what you're looking to do is actually take the cover off and then let all of the water evaporate and absorb into the onions. So that's when you do need to remove the cover after about 7 minutes. And in the meantime, we can look at the bacon. The bacon is almost fully cooked. So at this point, this is when we want to remove the bacon. You don't want it to be fully cooked because then it'll overcook once you put it in the oven. So it's almost there. I have a tray here lined with paper towel, and you just want to remove the bacon. I'm going to come around so that you can see. So see the width of the bacon. It's about a 1/2 inch wide and almost there. Looks great. The other ingredient that we need to make is our topping, which is going to go on the dough first. And it's very, very simple and only a few ingredients. It's wonderful. So we have here 1/2 cup of creme fraiche. This is from Vermont Creamery, and a lot of supermarkets now carry this. Creme fraiche is really wonderful cultured cream. It's delicious, and we're going to mix it with fromage blanc. Fromage blanc also is from Vermont Creamery, and unfortunately there are a lot of supermarkets that does not carry the product. So what I would suggest, here's our creme fraiche. I would suggest the substitute to use would just be Greek yogurt. So if you cannot find fromage blanc, which is equal amounts, half a cup of each, go ahead and use a nice Greek yogurt. We're going to season it with just a little bit of salt, pepper, and a touch of nutmeg. I like a little bit of nutmeg in here. Okay, we can put a little bit of black pepper in here too. And I would say about a quarter teaspoon of kosher salt and a little bit of fresh nutmeg, which I like here. Okay, just mix this. Okay, so let's get started on making the dough for our tarte flambée. It's a very easy dough to prepare. Here I'm going to show you how to do it by hand. However, you can use your mixer. You can even use a food processor to make your dough as well, which is very easy. So what we need, very few ingredients, 2 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. And I do want to tell you that I did try it with bread flour, and I found that it wasn't as delicate as it should be. So the bread flour is definitely not the right flour to use for the tarte flambée. For some doughs, it's really perfect, but not for this particular one. Definitely just go with an unbleached all-purpose flour. So that's what I have here. 2 cups. And in the meantime, I also need to run some water because we need some warm water. The water should be about 105 degrees. 105 to 110 degrees is perfect. And it should be warm to the touch. This seems pretty good. And you need two-thirds of a cup of water. Okay, that looks good. That is my oven letting me know that it is at 500 degrees and it is ready. And I also have a pizza stone in there heating up, so we're all set and ready to go. So to our 2/3 cup of warm water, you want to add 1.5 teaspoons of yeast. So this is just regular, I measured this already. So this is exactly 1.5 teaspoons I have here. And to that, you also want to add a little bit of sugar. You're kind of feeding it just to make sure that the yeast is alive and doing what it's supposed to be doing. So we're going to put in 1.5 teaspoons of sugar as well. And you'll see within 2 to 3 minutes, it should start to foam up, and you know that your yeast is alive and perfect, ready to do its job for the dough. Okay, so I just kind of stirred that up a little bit, and you can actually see it immediately. It'll start to bubble up and foam up. It's happening already, I can see it. So it's definitely very active, and it's perfect. I usually kind of cover it up and let it just sit there for a couple of minutes. And we just have one more ingredient with the flour. We're going to add 1/2 teaspoon. I'm using fine sea salt here. If you choose to use, say, the kosher salt, I would go with 1 teaspoon. But with the fine sea salt, you only need about 1/2 teaspoon. Okay. And we also, so that the dough is going to stretch and be very pliable for us, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. And we'll add that to the yeast. And that is it for our dough. I'm going to go ahead, normally I would let this sit for a few minutes, but it really doesn't need to. I can see that it's working and it is very active, so we're in good shape. Okay, so let's just give this a little bit of a stir just to incorporate the salt in with the flour. And right in the center, you can go ahead and add your water and yeast. Make sure you get it all in there. also add our 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. There we go. And that's it to making this really nice dough. It has less water, so it's not a sticky dough. It's a very firm dough, and that's what you're looking for. So first you can start, just use a wooden spoon and just get it together in your bowl. And you may think there's not enough water to actually be able to get all of the flour incorporated, but there is. Once you get close to it being incorporated, you can then go ahead and use your hands. So at this point, I'm going to use my hands. Just take the dough off your spoon, and you can either use this pastry scraper or your hands. I can go in and just use the pastry scraper, but I'm more comfortable using my hands. So you just kind of pick it up, fold it in until you get all of the flour mixed in. You don't leave any of it in your bowl. It will come together. Just give it a little bit of pressure with your hands to get it mixed in, and you'll have it all together in no time. And because this is a dry dough, chances are you may not need much flour to knead it. You want to knead this dough for about 7 minutes until it's really nicely put together. You can actually feel it when it's ready. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes. I usually knead it for about 7 minutes by hand. In a mixer, I would say you could probably do it less than 7 minutes, maybe 5. Okay, we have it all together, and all the flour is now incorporated, and I think you can see our bowl is completely dry. So you just want to go ahead and knead this until you have a really nice soft dough. And if it does start to stick to your hands or to the board, that's when you can go ahead and add a little bit of flour. But otherwise, don't. If it doesn't need it, don't do it. This is a nice dry dough, and it's really nice to work with. So once you have a really nice dough, you just take a bowl and grease your bowl with a little bit of olive oil. And be sure to grease the top of your dough as well, so that the dough doesn't form a skin. And then cover it with saran wrap and let it sit in a nice draft-free place for about an hour. It'll actually double in size, and that's when you know it's ready. And then you're going to quarter it. You'll get 4 tart flambés out of this dough. And you're going to roll it out with a rolling pin, and you'll roll it out to about 9 to 10 inch circle. And you'll get 4 of these. So I think you can see it's really coming together very nicely. I'm gonna finish this up and then bring the dough over closer so that you can see the dough. And then we can work. I do have one already made. We can roll one out and actually start to make our tart flambés. Our dough looks really nice. Let's come around and show it to you. And you can see that I never added any more flour to the dough. It looks beautiful. It's all set and ready to go. I do have another one already made. Okay, so I have my rolling pin. I have a small cutting board here. I'm just going to take a tiny bit of flour, and let's just take a piece. Just going to quarter this. We'll take a piece off. Leave the rest there. A rolling pin, and you just want to roll. It's very, very nice dough to work with. And don't over flour your board. It doesn't need that much flour. I always put the dough directly on parchment paper and put the parchment paper right onto the pizza stone. It just makes it very, very easy, keeps your stone nice and clean. And you want this less than an 1/8 inch thick. You want this super thin. So when it bakes off, it's so crunchy, like a cracker. It's the best way to describe it. Okay, so I have a ruler here, so let's just measure it out. And we are exactly 9 inches, which is perfect. Just take your pizza peel if you have one, or a sheet pan, and turn it upside down. You can use that. Put your parchment on top, and then just slide your dough right on. So our first round is ready to go, and this is about 9 inches, so that's about the size that you're looking for, between 9 and 10 inches. And we'll start with our creme fraiche mixture. And you do want to leave about a 1/2 inch border, so be sure to definitely leave that border. Nice thin layer. So you just want to spread it around on top of the creme fraiche. Mix it all in. And now we will put some bacon on top of our onions. And it's totally optional whether you'd like to add some cheese on top. A cup of Gruyere cheese would definitely be enough. This looks pretty good. So this right here, you can see it. We're going to put our cheese right on top. And then our oven is set at 500 degrees. And this should take about 7 minutes, I would say. So let's put a little bit of Gruyere right on the top and pop it in the oven. I think our first tart is almost ready to come out of the oven. I'm going to check it. Okay. It looks lovely. Okay, so here is our tart flambée. I'm just going to show you the underside of it. And you can see it's nice and dark, and it's very cracker-like. It's very, very thin. And let's go ahead and cut it. Okay. You hear that sound? It's perfect. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, that looks great. I think you'll be very happy with this. A nice, crisp, chilled Riesling would go perfect with this. It would be really, really nice. Let's come up so you can get a really close look at it. You can see how thin, paper thin it is. Nice dark crust. It looks great. Thanks very much, everyone. Be well. See you soon. Bye now.